Hello everybody, my name is Akimley, and today we will be delving into one of the best DLCs for Fallout 4, if not just the hands down best DLC for Fallout 4, depending on who you ask, Far Harbor. When I first got my hands on the DLC, I was pretty much just thinking, Point Lookout, except better graphics, and honestly I was expecting a very lazy story. I wasn't really having the highest standard for this. I wasn't too excited for it. I remember I saw it and I was like, it just seems like an extension of the game and it doesn't really seem worth my time, but one of my friends talked me into getting it, and once I played through it, I would not stop talking about it for weeks. And I'm not the only one who thinks Far Harbor is so good. Like, there are people that say that Fallout 4 should have been what Far Harbor was with like player choice and things like that. And today I want to find out why everywhere I go, I see people absolutely loving this game, and why I personally love this game, because up until this point I didn't really know why I loved this game so much. And I just want to kind of analyze and take together what people's arguments are for why this game is so beloved and why people love it so much. So today, we'll be finding out why Far Harbor is so beloved.
We've paid our dues in blood and bullets. This is our fight. Our island. Not yours.
The fog can do a number on you. Get you all turned around.
Far Harbor has a right to the truth.
The people of Far Harbor need only peer out their windows to look upon the face of Atom himself, given form in holy fog.
I know peace can still be achieved.
Peace? You call murdering one of ours peace?
Careful. This could get out of hand real fast.
Far Harbor is a DLC for Fallout 4, and it was released in 2016. The DLC takes place after Nick Valentine tells you about a family that lives on the northeast of the Fallout 4 base game map. Here you will find out about a girl who has run away from her home and gone to Mount Desert Island off the coast of Maine, otherwise known as just the island. After finding out about this place, the player character can decide to take the family's boat away to the town of Far Harbor and try and find out what happened to this young woman who has run away. When the sole survivor shows up at Far Harbor, they must help defend the town from the pests that threaten to overthrow the town and wipe them out. Once this is dealt with, the player character can explore the island. The island has a very unique atmosphere, which I will go into later, and very well fleshed out factions. The map is fairly big for a DLC, and the player will be able to find the main problem on the island: the fog. You know, this fog that goes over this entire island reminds me of a certain movie that was made after a Stephen King book. The Church of the Children of the Atom have also settled on the island and believe the fog is holy for some reason, and therefore must be protected at all costs. Then there is Arcadia, a synth refuge where the girl you've been looking for fled to because she believed she was a synth. What happens next is up to the player. Maybe the player sides with Far Harbor and nukes the Children of Atom. Maybe they do the opposite. Regardless of what happens, Far Harbor seems to be a relatively simple plot, And I mean, the story is pretty easy to follow. So I have to ask the question, why is it so beloved by the Fallout community? Well, there's a lot more to Fallout 4 than simply knowing the basics of what's going on inside of it. And there's a lot more behind the cover, I should say. So, instead of just talking about what Far Harbor is and like gameplay-wise, let's get into the reason why it's so good and see what all the fuss is for this DLC. Far Harbor is considered by many to be the best Fallout 4 DLC, and possibly better than Fallout 4 itself. But why? Well, first off, player agency. Skill checks actually have effect in Far Harbor. Meanwhile, in the base game, there are like 2 instances of this happening. And sure, it doesn't nearly make up for like Fallout New Vegas amount of skill checks, but it's a DLC, what can you do? Your build actually matters a lot more in this because of skill checks and also just in general. It feels like if you're more of a marksman, you're definitely going to find like weapons, things for that. But if you also are like just melee focused, then you're also going to find a lot of good weapons here for that. A lot of people prefer the writing for Far Harbor over the writing of Fallout 4 just because it fleshes out characters, adding challenging decisions and just making this darker, literally and figuratively. Like I seriously, anytime I play Far Harbor, sometimes I feel like I cannot see what's going on just because of the fog. I'll just go into VATS to try and see where the enemies are, and then I'll be like, wait, that thing was over there? But yeah, the fog is horrible to see through sometimes. But anyways, the tone of Fallout feels much more real because it's darker. If it wasn't good enough that it helps flesh out characters in Far Harbor, we also flesh out characters from the base game. Nick Valentine is a prime example of this, because the leader of Arcadia just so happens to be very related to Nick Valentine, because Nick Valentine is a synth that was a prototype that managed to escape from the Institute or be let out. I don't really know. It's been a while. Making choices in Far Harbor is great because whatever you did in the Commonwealth can come with you to the island. For example, if you joined the Brotherhood, you can have the choice to alert the Brotherhood of Arcadia because they hate synths and attack them, because the Brotherhood are absolutely terrified of synths being able to just exist and live. And sure, the player choices are really good, but one thing I can really adore about this DLC is the fact that wherever you go on the island, there is world building and lore. Sure, there was plenty of that in the Commonwealth, but I could still go to a place in the Commonwealth, and it would just be a dungeon crawler with like ghouls that don't really make sense for being there, because this place's lights are still on and there's a lit candle right there. How are these feral ghouls here if there's a lit candle right there? What the fuck? You get the idea. However, in Far Harbor, even a small hotel that doesn't really have any significance can contain a story about a submarine captain and his wife. Or next to the Zim bottling plant, we can find that apparently Nuka-Cola hired a guy to fire rockets at Zim bottling plant, and he was hiding at a gas station nearby and going insane.
Stick around. Hostages are inside! Knock, knock.
Every part of Far Harbor breathes life. And not to mention the geography and history of this island is incredibly unique. And the new enemies, locations, items, weapons, and armors all tell of this little island that was irradiated by this fog that covers everything. All the locations are actually really interesting. For example, we have a town which fishes and clings to this island even after all that has happened. There's a vault of robo-brains a synth haven with a prototype synth who is related to Nick Valentine, and a frickin' nuclear submarine. Like, seriously, the amount of cool stuff in this DLC is both amazing and just interesting as hell. I have ADHD, and even I have a hard time getting bored here, because my eyes are constantly just given new information to take in. Also, story-wise, the DLC takes a synth idea from the base game and just makes it 10 times better. The people of Far Harbor and the Nucleus don't trust the synths, while the synths just want to live in peace. Well, they kind of trust the synths, but they don't trust the other people while the synths are like supplying both sides. Because obviously the people at the Nucleus want to wipe out Far Harbor, and Far Harbor really don't trust the people of the Nucleus. So the synths supplied the Children of Madam with the Nucleus, and they also give the people of Far Harbor the things that prevent the fog from getting to them. Dima, the leader of Arcadia, is secretly replacing people to further his own goals, and mostly just to save his people. This revelation to the character will actually lead to a really hard choice to make. If the main character lies, there will be peace. But if they tell the truth, there will be war. What is the better solution? Really just depends on the player. Because to answer the question of why people love Far Harbor so much, is because of choice, and because of the game that came before the DLC. Far Harbor was able to improve and flush out a game, which a lot of people criticized for having bad writing, but with the basics there, the elements, the gunplay, the everything, there's a game to base it off of. That just led to them being able to focus so much more of their efforts into this amazing writing and this amazing story instead of focusing on the gunplay, stuff like that. Like, I'm sure implementing the new weaponry and armor wasn't an easy feat. Definitely not. But the system is already there. It's probably a lot easier with that thing to like set back on, because whenever you start a game from scratch, you have so much to do, but a DLC, you have so much that has already been done that now you just have to focus on the writing. They were just able to make the writing much better and focus on making their world much better, instead of Fallout 4, which had to focus on everything. Well, now that I've kind of been blabbing on about why Far Harbor is so loved and why people think it's so loved, let's move on to my final thoughts. Fallout 4 is a good game, but Far Harbor is an amazing DLC. It serves the purpose of a DLC very well by just making the story of Fallout 4 go on just a little longer and improve on it, as a whole. I feel like Far Harbor definitely deserves the praise it has received. Fallout 4 had plenty of issues with writing and things like that, but I think part of that might have just been scale. Far Harbor is able to fit so much in this small area because it is a lot smaller. You don't have enough time to put the filler quest over here or the building that doesn't really have a purpose over here just to make up for the bigger space, because you have a smaller space. They have to make this area enjoyable and worth it, with less area to work with. I feel like making a challenge like that may have been another reason why this DLC was so good, because if you don't challenge yourself with this small area, this small space, then how is it ever going to get any better? You need to give yourself challenges. But anyways, that's all I really have to say about Far Harbor and why people love it so much. If you guys like my content, subscribe, all that. I don't have a lot of subscribers. I think it's like 98% of you guys aren't subscribed. Don't check that. Not that I think you can. But I think this video has concluded. Akimli, out.